Hello, my name is Vincent Garcia and I will be modeling a sample third grade lesson for comparing fractions using three different strategies. My lesson objectives are: given two models, students will be able to compare fractions using missing pieces, same denominator and same numerator strategies with 90% accuracy. Also, given two fractions, students will be able to compare by using the missing pieces, same numerator, same denominator strategies with 90% accuracies. So, the materials we're going to need is an interactive math board, fraction circles in which the students can start to gain an understanding of what maybe 1/2 looks like compared to 1/3, and they have fractions going up to 1/12. They will need their Go Math textbook as well as their Go Math workbook and a notebook. I'll be using three types of assessments during this lesson: the before assessment, which is the problem of the day; a during lesson, which is quick check questions, and which are in the textbook; and after, which is having them answer the essential question in their math journal. The essential question is: what strategies can be used to compare fractions? So, once that's up on the board, we're going to have them copy that into their notebook. Next, I'm going to pull up what Go Math provides. It's called an animated math model. You can pull it up on the smartboard, and basically it just gets the kids ready. It shows them new vocabulary. It pretty much goes through the lesson really quickly and prepares them so that they're better able to participate during the lesson. So, as I said, we will discuss the learning objective and essential questions and copy that in the notebook, and then we'll have them independently complete the problem of the day. The problem of the day is more often than not a spiral review and might not have anything to do with that lesson that you're doing that day, and this one is actually a multiplication one. It's the art teacher buys 5 new paint jars. Each set has 9 jars of paint. How many new jars of paint does the teacher have? So obviously that has nothing to do with fractions, but it is testing them for their prior knowledge. And then you're going to access prior knowledge, which is also a review, but now it's starting to get more along the lines with today's lesson. So in this case, I would write 8/4 on the board. I would ask the child how they read that fraction and what whole number is it equal to. So, after that, we're going to unlock the problem. Go Math provides you with the problem, and in this case the problem is: Luca and Anne are eating the same size small pizzas. One plate has 3/4 of Luca's cheese pizza. Another plate has 5/6 of Anne's sausage pizza. Whose plate has more pizza? This is where the interactive whiteboard comes in, because in one box it says, what do I need to find? Another one it says, what information do I need to use? And it says, how will I use this information? And show how to solve the problem. So basically it's getting the children to pick apart the problem, see what they need to know, and it's going to help them answer the question. So, first, as a teacher, you're going to check that the students understand that they need to compare 3/4 and 5/6 before we can even get started. So we're going to ask the students, does the fraction with the lesser denominator or the greater denominator have the larger pieces? Explain. In which case, we expect them to say the fraction with the lesser denominator has larger pieces because the whole is divided into fewer pieces. We're going to ask them, how can you use the missing pieces strategy to solve the problem? Possible answers would be: shade the models to show the two fractions with one piece missing from the whole, then compare the sides of the missing pieces. 1/4 is larger than 1/6, so 3/4 is less than 5/6. How can you tell just by looking at the fraction 7/8 that it represents a whole with one missing piece? To which we expect the children to reply, I know 8 pieces make one whole, and 7 is 1 less than 8, or something along those lines. So then we're going to get into explaining to them what the same denominator strategy is. Basically saying when the denominators are the same, you can compare only the number of pieces or the numerator. So then we're going to ask the questions, why can you compare the numerators when you compare fractions with the same denominator? And the answer is, if the denominators are the same, the pieces are the same size, so I can compare the numerators to find which fraction has more pieces and is greater. Next, we're going to try to guide the students to follow the steps to compare the fractions and solve the problem. So basically, the next problem is: Miss Davis is making a fruit salad with 3/4 pound of cherries and 3/8 pounds of strawberries. Which weighs less, the cherries or the strawberries? To which you could ask the children, if they notice anything different, because now we're not talking about the missing pieces, we're not talking about the same denominator strategy, and see if one of the students can come up with the fact that now both these fractions have the same numerator. So then we could get into the same numerator strategy, which is when the numerators are the same, look at the denominators to compare the size of the pieces. Something we like to tell our students in my class is the bigger the denominator, the smaller the pieces, so maybe they could just get it stuck because they're so used to comparing numbers and always putting greater than facing towards the bigger number, and now we're asking them to do something totally different. So once we get through all of that, we're going to go into the practice part of the lesson. We're going to get into share and show. So the first problem connects to the learning model, and we're going to have students try to use their math board to explain their thinking. The question is compare 7/8 and 5/6. It tells them to think what is missing from each whole. So hopefully that guides the student to automatically say to themselves, maybe I should use the missing pieces strategy. There are actually two models there that they could shade in the fractions and see for themselves that 7/8 is greater than 5/6. Next we're going to move on to the quick check, which is 4 examples, and 2 of them are used to see whether or not we could go into response to intervention for some children if they need it. They give 2 fractions in which they're supposed to compare, and then they're supposed to write the strategy they use. First one is 1/2 compared to 2/3. It's most likely that the student will choose missing pieces strategy and see what they need to do. Then we go on to 3/4 and 2/4. The child will use the same denominator strategy. We go on to 3/8 and 3/6, same numerator strategy, and once again 3/4 and 7/8 go into the missing pieces strategy. So like I said, if they miss the same denominator and same numerator questions, we're going to move on, and I would send those child to a small group to work with RTI. Now, RTI in this case is this reteach book, which comes with the Go Math curriculum. So now it just breaks it down a little. It shows them different models. Now it's showing bar graphs instead of circle graphs, and they're also using their fraction circles. So those children will move on to this level of RTI just to make sure that they understand, and once they get that, they will be moved back into their regular classroom program. Now, for the children that get those questions correct, they go on to do On Your Own. So On Your Own is basically a whole page that they're now comparing using all the different strategies. So, suggest students first look at the same numerator or the same, you're just trying to explain to them, see if they have the same numerator, see if they have the same denominator. If they don't, what strategy are you going to use? There's only one left, and hopefully the children will pick up on that. So basically, as we're getting towards the end here, we go toward a little harder question, which is also an unlock the problem, and it's have students, you're going to have students read the problem and discuss what they need to know. Discuss with the students which strategy could be used and why the strategy is appropriate for this problem. So basically, we're just doing the same thing that the interactive math board helped us do, because now we're putting it in Word problem form. Everything else was just, independent work, and now they have to try to connect it to real life. I'm sorry. So, Tracy is making a blueberry cake. She is using 4/4 cup of sugar and 4/2 cups of flour. Which of the following correctly compares the fractions? In which case, this is also going back to the accessing prior knowledge, where they know that an improper fraction is actually a whole number. Also, they see that the same numerator, and they think to themselves, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the pieces, so hopefully that will guide them to know that 4/2 is greater than 4/4. Now, before I wrap things up with the essential question being answered, there are also other things that Go Math provides, and this is how we differentiate the instruction. So basically, we have this card here, which it's called Who is the Greatest? And we're going to start. Label our chart as shown, make the fraction cards 1, find the fraction tiles that match the cards, and put the tiles face up. This is for the lower performers during the lesson, and it turns it into a game, it makes it fun, and hopefully it just hammers home all the points we were trying to make. There's also another game that comes with it called Fraction Action. So it's just a little board game where you move around and you're supposed to say and use your fraction circles to figure out which fractions are bigger, which fractions are smaller, and comparing them to both. So after that is all done, GoMath also provides you, there are plenty of common errors that the children make. So we have to make sure that we are prepared for these errors and how to explain them. In this case, students may confuse the same denominator and same numerator strategies. Remind them that when they use the same numerator strategy, they need to think about the size of the equal parts. When they use the same denominator strategy, they need to think about the number of equal parts. So it's just getting them, it is very confusing. This is the first time they're hearing some of these words, and now they're comparing fractions, and sometimes it goes the opposite way of what we've been teaching them for years. So it's just important to be prepared for the mistakes that these children might make. Also, during the lesson, we're going to have a lot of turn and talk. We're going to have the children explain to each other why knowing that one fraction is bigger than another fraction is going to help them know that, and just connect it to different things. So basically, after that, we're gonna have the wrap up, which has students answer the essential question in the notebook, and we're going to have them answer maybe another question, explain how you use the missing pieces strategy to compare two fractions, include a diagram with your explanations, have volunteers share responses. Just a very interactive lesson. You want the kids to share, they feel very proud when they share, and just you as a teacher want to make sure that your lesson got through your students. So as I said, this was all from the GoMath curriculum. I adapted it to my own lesson because this is something that I have a lot of experience with in my school. There's a possibility that I work in another school. I know my mother's school uses it, my fiance's school uses it. It's a very popular math curriculum, so I wanted to get as much practice as I possibly could with it, and I hope this was enjoyable and informative. Thank you very much.